Hi, everybody. Sandy Boucher here, and welcome back to my world in my new office, starting out a brand new week. So I'm having the best day of life here because I'm looking at the evaluation stats from the PATH seminar. Now, if you follow my blog posts at all, or you follow me on Facebook, you know that my new book, The Path, just came out a couple weeks ago, and I was able to launch the related seminar down in Niagara just the beginning of July, and the stats are amazing. 100% of participants said they received new information and ideas, but at the same time, 100% said the presentation was enjoyable. Would they recommend it to other people? You guessed it, 100%. Now, why did I want to do this video today? Because honestly, before the respect campaigns, before the we are all the same, before any of that, we have to reconcile. That's the reality. There are two different parties here. Indigenous, which encompasses so many different tribes and nations and languages. And hi, Cynthia, thanks for joining. We have to accept that side. And then non-Indigenous with all its related views and differences. Those are two very wide groups, and they're divided. Now, to illustrate that, I wanted to share a story with you, something that happened in my life and this was a while ago, and I think it's what really started me on this path of understanding that it's the two-row wampum, and we have two ships. We can choose to travel together, but we're not on the same ship, and that's okay. So here's the story that really highlighted the differences for me. I used to live in Southern Ontario in the GTA, Greater Toronto area. And at the time, I had someone in my life who, suffice to say, had some interesting views of Indigenous people based on what he had been taught and what he had experienced so far in his journey. So we got into the most interesting discussions. And before I say anything else, I have to say I have total respect for this man because he would be honest. He would share what he believed or what he had been taught so that I could honestly respond to it. He didn't walk softly. He didn't try to make it sound nicer than it was. He was just honest. He tried not to be rude, but he was honest. So on this particular day, he came racing into the room and he said, "That's it. I have proof that Indigenous people are crazy, that they're crazy people." And truth be told here, he didn't use the word Indigenous. Okay, I'm not going to use the word he used. So I was like, just kind of shaking my head like, here we go. This ought to be good. So I asked him to share what he had heard. What he shared was, now you might have to be from a northern area to understand this, but up here we have CN Rail or CP Rail and tracks that connect a lot of the smaller municipalities, the small towns, and even First Nation communities. During the summer, they have what we used to call work trains. And these are trains of CN or CP workers that go out to do repairs on the tracks. Well, my friend had a friend who used to work on one of those work trains. And the story they shared was that once upon a time, the work train came rolling into this northern community. And almost as soon as the train stopped, some Indigenous men came racing out with guns and started firing their rifles at the train. And the train had to leave. So now my friend's standing there all smug, feeling that he has proven that Indigenous people are crazy. But then he notices my face, and I'm standing there literally with my mouth hanging open. So he asked me what was going on. And I said, okay, let me share a story with you. Hi, Keith. Thanks for signing up. So he asked me to share what I was thinking, what was going through my head. So I told him I wasn't going to argue his story, But I did want to share a story of my own, an experience that I had had personally. And of course, again, he was respectful enough to listen to my opinion. So I come from a small, hi Keith, hi Rachel. I come from a small northern town, a municipality, and I remember those work trains, but I remember them in a totally different way because I hated those work trains. And when I shared that with my friend, he kind of just looked at me like, why did you hate them? And I went on to explain that as a young girl, a young teenager, when that work train came to town, I was instantly grounded. And I would stay grounded until the train left. And when I tried to fight with my mom, tell her that she was being unreasonable, she would remind me of far too many cases of young Indigenous women being dragged behind the trains and assaulted. My mom would rather that I was angry at her for being grounded than to have me have to experience and deal with that kind of situation. Now, you should have seen, to his credit, hi Clay, thanks for joining. To his credit, you should have seen his face when he heard my sharing, because he's the father of a young woman, a young girl at that time. I asked him to consider what it would be like as a dad to have had his daughter assaulted in that way. I asked him to consider how he would react the next time the train pulled into town. Would he then think it was warranted to get your gun and start shooting, to get this train to leave, to protect your family? When I say we have to reconcile, I mean it. I would love to see Canada working together. I would love to see this area, Turtle Island, Canada, however you want to refer to it, as respectful and beautiful and comforting to everyone that lives here, not at the expense of the Indigenous people. Our Canada is just different from Canada for other people. We have to reconcile the past, not deny it, not get over it, because for so many, it's still not even accepted. And that's what the path is all about. Coming together, how to have that conversation, what you need to learn, how you need to approach this so that we can finally be those two canoes traveling together. You don't need to become like me. I don't need to become like you. I don't need to understand everything you do, and you don't need to understand everything I do. We just have to accept the reality, the past, the facts, and be able to work together. I can help you do that. So if you're interested in learning more, whether it's buying my book or booking me to come do the seminar in your area, then please send me an email. Just go to sandyboucher.com. My contact information is there. It is time to build a bridge. It is time to walk or canoe or travel together. But we don't do it by rushing each other, and we don't do it by pretending we're all the same. Respect is great, but first comes reconciliation. Food for thought, my friend. Until next week's video, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.